Okay, no, we can get started with your chanting. Sahana Vavatu.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you. So, welcome back to our Sunday session. We will continue chapter 3 discussions, Karma Yoga. And where we left in the previous session was Krishna was just summarizing the teachings of Karma Yoga. So we will listen to some chanting and then we can proceed. So I know if you could chant 28, 29, 30, and then 31, 32, 33. 28, 29, and 30 we concluded in the last week, and we will continue 30, 31, 32, and 33 today. And I know, thank you very much for posting the recordings. That's also good.
No problem, Rajesh. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Tritiyodhyayah Karma Yogaha Tattvavittu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayoho Guna Guneshu Vartante Iti Matva na Sajjate प्रकृतेर्गुणसम्मूढाः सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् कृत्स्नविदो मन्दान् कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत् मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः ये त्वेतदभ्यसूयन्तः नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्वज्ञानविमूढांस्तान् विद्धि नष्टान चेतसः सदृशं चेष्टते स्वस्याः प्रकृतेर्ज्ञानवानपि प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निग्रहः किं करिष्यति.
Thank you. So we were talking about the whole Karma Yoga. And in the last session, we saw that, especially the point, the relationship between guna and karma. So we had a long discussion, what is guna and karma, and the relationship between temperament and action. And I said, like, if I have a taste for a particular food, naturally my actions will be to get that food. When I go to a restaurant, if I like, say, a particular food, right? Say, let's say that burritos, then naturally when I see the menu, my actions will prompted based upon that temperament. So there is a constant connection between the inner mental temperament and the actions I undertake. So that's a pretty much common norm now. And I was able to do some little bit further studies on that. And it was very interesting to read how the modern science is endorsing that view. Because like, even I saw that your genes are going to control certain taste buds, certain food you like. Actually, there was a long study. There was a very serious study conducted by some universities very recently. Why certain people like certain food. So what exactly controls your taste bud? They found that certain things even can come through your genes, which was very interesting. So what I'm saying is that, see, the temperament or the gunas is going to prompt your actions. And that is a good old principle. And it is going to be like that. So a person who is well informed, he's not going to change, means he's not going to eliminate all the temperaments. It is impossible, because some of them are part of your genes. But what he tried, the difference is, he will try to understand the difference between who he is and what is prompting these actions. The moment he realizes that, okay, it is my tongue, it is my mental impressions that is what is prompting these actions, he is able to control that, meaning he is able to manage that. That's all we need to do. So we joked about this also. We said Krishna likes blue color and he likes certain food. He likes to play certain type of music. All means, are you saying that you need to avoid all that? That's not what we are saying. We are only saying that you just need to understand that these temperaments are going to prompt you to act in a certain way, prompt you to think certain way, and prompt you to like certain things. And in fact, they are adding beauty to your life. But what you have to do is, you should have the ability to know what exactly is prompting it, and you should have the ability to control based upon what is right and wrong. When there is a conflict between the temperament prompted desire, between the right and wrong, we need to have the ability and control to choose what is right. It is driving the car within that lane, following the traffic rule. Means means depending upon the car, the speed and everything else is going to change. But as long as you have control over the wheel, you should be able to drive that car very much. You don't have to say that this car needs to be like this, these things. You can drive any car as long as it is drivable, but you need to have the control over the wheels. And then on verse 30, which is very important, the verse 30 is a brilliant summary of the Karma Yoga, right? So Krishna said, he said that he defined 5 aspects of Karma Yoga in that one brilliant verse. So I suggested to study this verse and remember this verse if possible. The first thing he said is, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasta. Offer all actions as a worship to the highest Lord. Why? Is it to please the God and get some results?
No, because it's a yajna.
Yeah, it becomes yajna. Why I need to follow this yajna? Because that yajna, that attitude of that yajna, or that attitude of that worship comes from an understanding of the overall schemes of things. When I when I open my eyes and look at the universe, I find that my existence, every moment, is a blessing from the Ishvara, if you use the religious language. And if you use the scientific language, my life, every moment, is a blessings from the universe. Isn't it? If the nature stops giving you the oxygen, you are done. If the sun stops to work one day,
Finished.
you are done. And your body, remember your body. The body is vulnerable. How much vulnerable it is? Swami Chinmayananda brilliantly explained. Have you seen these medical books describing the diseases? What is the possibility of diseases you can get? He used to say that this much is the possibility. And by the way, that book is very big, thick. So every moment, my life is supported and sustained by a brilliantly orchestrated law. Please pause for a moment and think, am I just bluffing? Because remember the cyclic universe. The carbon dioxide I emit, it is absorbed by the plants. And in return, what it gives me? Oxygen. And without that, do you think that the life will survive? And everything we need is properly placed in its order. Ishavasya Upanishad said, it is designed how it needs to be. Even when we see orderlessness in somewhere, even that orderlessness is part of that bigger order, which we don't understand. The laws of the nature functions precisely well, and if that violated for a second, my survival is not going to happen. And when you recognize that, you develop certain appreciation, certain sensitivity to the overall scheme of things. And that is what is prompt you to dedicate your work as a reverence to that universal order. And that is what is Mai Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya. And how do I offer my, when can I do that? That is the second point highlighted in the previous verse. Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. Your mind that is filled with a spiritual mind, Adhyatma Chetasa. A mind that realizes the higher values of life. Because most of the people think that the life is what? I just get up, earn some money, support the family, and go away. This is the normal life. But remember, sometimes the normal state is overrated. Interestingly, if you go to the academic level, right? If you just look at the bell curve, where do you think most of the students in a college will fall? C is the, if you look at the normal distribution, the peak is always C. Do you think that that is acceptable to you? Imagine you're coming back to school, your child coming back from school and giving that report card with C. Is that acceptable to you as a parent? Not at all. So you need to work hard to move ahead. So Adhyatma Chetas means a mind that realizes the higher purpose of the life. A mind that realizes that I need to achieve something. Imagine you are at the last moments of your life. Imagine you have that last moment of the life. Even if you have $1 billion savings, how do you rate yourself? There's a powerful meditation in one of the Upanishads. You are just emulating that situation or simulating that situation. You're just looking back at your life, thinking that this is my last moment. My last moments are coming right now. I can guarantee you that what you think as valuable now becomes less valuable at that time. So imagine that situation is going to come sometime or the other. Nobody can escape from that situation. So as you grow, how do you gracefully face that situation? So you need to elevate your mind into the higher goals of life. What is this? I wanted to elevate myself spiritually. So for that, you need to understand that, yeah, I need to work hard to that direction. Krishna never said that you should attain the realization. As long as you are valuing this is good. So that is why Mai Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. So second point is a mind that considers the spiritual life as valuable. Why you are sitting here and not watching a TV? Because you think that this has a value. Unless you feel the value, you won't put any effort. So imagine you ask your spouse to come or your friend to come and study Gita. If he don't, means, do you think that I can pursue anybody to come to the class? Do you think that you can pursue anybody to study the scriptures? It could be your son, it could be your spouse, it could be your parents. No. You can only give them some pointers, and unless and otherwise they themselves don't find that value, they won't do it. So a person who value movie more than the Gita, where would he invest his time? Going to movies. So that's what you need to understand that, right? So what is more value? Adhyatma Chetasa means, very simple meaning is, a mind that values this higher teaching or the spiritual teachings. It values, not by the persuasions of another person, but I am convinced. So that is the second meaning. And then Nirashi. Nirashi means it is not a desperate person. Nirashi means one who has gone beyond his binding desires. Because binding desire means what? I am pretty much obsessed with a particular result. I am putting the money into the stock. I do all the due diligence. But if I don't get the returns, I am just broken up. Right? Or you expect your child to behave certain way. And you know the fact, 99% of the children won't behave in that way. You get despair. When you have that binding desire, it is definitely a point of failure. So a person who has gone beyond that binding desire, right? So I was just reading a nice quote. Somebody was explaining what is life. What is life means, somebody was telling, I forgot the exact quote. He said, like, you plan something, but what happens? Something else happens. Your ability to respond something which is beyond your plan. That is what is the usual life. 99% of your plan, it may not happen. But how do you deal with that? So that attitude is Nirashi. A karma yogi knows that, yeah, there is something behind in the way certain results are given to me. So that understanding is the third quality. And the fourth quality is nirmama. Nirmama means what? Suppose you get the result. You feel that I did it. So that arrogance you have to give up. Right? Because, see, in spite of my best effort, things can go wrong. So yes, my self-effort is there, but along with my self-effort, with the grace of the Lord, I got the result. So that nirmama. And last thing is vikata joraha. Vikata joraha means you have to be emotionally stable. Because if the emotionally you are up and down, that is not conducive. So you have to practice that emotional intelligence. So 5 points. This is very important. So please learn this verse. This verse brilliantly defines Karma Yoga. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa mirashi nirmamor bhuktva yuddhasya vigata jyoraha. Clear? Okay. If there is no questions, let's go to the next verses.
Rajesh, sorry, what is this verse number again?
30.
Okay.
Chapter 3, verse 30. Okay. By heart if possible, because it is such a beautiful verse in simple language. Krishna defines the Karma Yoga. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhukta yukthasya vigata joraha. So jora here literally means fever or the heat or the imbalance. So it is the mind, the jora of the mind is the emotional disturbance, and you should avoid it. Shankaracharya clarifies that in his commentary. Beautiful verse. Okay, so let's go to the next. Now, before go to the next verse, just a quick heads up. The next two verses, Anvaya Vyatireka. So Krishna just is going to say, those who follows this particular teaching, what benefits they are going to get. And verse 32 is going to tell those who do not follow this, what they are going to get. So just two snapshots. So he just summarized Karma Yoga, and now he's going to say there are some people who follow this faithfully, and there are some people who do not follow this. So what exactly they are going to get? That is what is the theme of next two verses. So we can chant verse 31. Let me share, and I will chant.
ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः.
It's a beautiful verse again. Krishna tells, Ye matam, me matam. Me matam means, what is matam typically?
Opinion.
Some local language, it is religion.
Religion.
Yes,
Opinion.
but Sanskrit
Connection.
is opinion. Right. So look at the beauty of Krishna. He said that this is my opinion. Even in some modern time, people say that it is like that. He didn't say. He said that my opinion is me matam, my opinion. Ye me matam, this opinion of mine. This opinion means what? Opinion about what? Karma Yoga, right? That's what we have been talking. So he tells, Ye madam idam, this opinion of mine, which is Karma Yoga. Nityam anutishtanti manavaha. So manavaha means what? Manava means human being.
Humanity.
Humanity, human being. Manana Shilawan, right? The one who can think is Manava. So out of all the living beings, only human beings can think. That is why it is known as Manava. So those human beings, mind you, again, look at the universality of the Gita. He didn't say that devotee of Krishna. He didn't say that Hindus. He didn't say that it is a particular caste. He didn't say that a particular nationality. He said that whoever follows my opinion about this Karma Yoga, you don't have to praise Krishna, but just following Karma Yoga. Shankaracharya means, actually there is a commentator called this out very well, not Shankaracharya. I forgot the commentator's name, but because look at the sectarian teachings and the teachings of the Gita. Very carefully chosen words. Krishna said, this is my opinion, and he didn't say that it is the absolute thing. He said that my opinion, those who follow this opinion, in my opinion, Nityam, this opinion is universal. It is not given to you only. It is not given only for a particular period of time. This opinion is applicable at all the period of time and anybody and everybody. So this universal opinion, and again, it is his opinion. He's saying that if this opinion about this, that is Karma Yoga, which is universal, and he tells, Anutishtanti manavaha. Whoever anutishtanti, tishtanti means follow. Anutishtanti, remember the word anu, if you add, what does that mean? Continuously, constantly. The person who always follows this opinion, a person who is always committed to Karma Yoga. That's what it means. So, eme matamitam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. This opinion of mine, who follow this continuously, and how he should be following it. That is what is qualified in the next verse. Shraddhavantu. Shraddhavantu means what? Shraddha is what?
Diligent.
Faith.
Faith.
With faith.
Shraddha in Sanskrit is faith. What is faith, by the way? The one who follows this Karma Yoga with faith.
With full interest.
Faith means it is not blind belief, right? It is you accept. In the modern world, you can call it as a hypothesis. In statistics, those who study statistics, how do you start an experiment?
With a hypothesis.
Right. And what means, suppose somebody is doing a research to prove something. Until he proves that out, will he take that as truth?
No.
All his effort should be to prove that hypothesis, right? That's what he tries to do. So the faith or the belief in the words of the teachers and the scriptures, unless and otherwise it is proved to be wrong. That's all faith. So the difference between a person who have a faith versus the person who do not have a faith is, a person will take the teaching as true and try to understand that. I think Swami Dayananda has brilliantly explained this once. He said, like, when you don't understand a verse, first check your understanding before concluding that this is wrong. But in spite of your analysis, if that is wrong, you don't have to believe it. So out of my arrogance, I asked this question, right? I asked him, if by any means that if a certain teaching, a portion of the Gita is not convincing. And my question was, like, typically in Gita, you get 15 different interpretations. Which interpretation you follow? You all ask this question to me also, right?
Absolutely.
So,
For which we are convinced with.
yeah. And his answer was brilliant. 2 questions he answered. I can just tell you this direct interactions. So the first thing he said is, if you think that a portion of the teaching is not beneficial to you, remember I developed that whole thing last week in the 8th chapter based on that conversation only. So the question is that beneficial? Or is that relevant? If not, just ignore that portion. So far, I haven't seen any portion of the Gita in that category. So let's, of course, means certain things we don't, means it may not be relevant to us, but which is not beneficial, I haven't seen anything in the Gita. So that is point number 1. And point number 2 is which interpretation you take. His answer was brilliant. He didn't say that Advaita teaching you should take. Typically, the masters will do that. But he said, take that is most convincing to you, which is most relevant to you and most beneficial to you. That's what it is. What is most beneficial to humanity, that is not contrary to dharma. For example, suppose somebody interpret Gita and say that this should not be given to this particular person because by birth. Is that aligned with dharma? No. That means it should not be taken that way. Whoever said that. So even if Shankara said that, this is exactly the language he's used. Even if Shankara said that, Shankara didn't say that, that's a different matter. Even if Shankara comes back and tell you that you should take it, something that is not relevant, which is against dharma, we should not do that. That is what the style of Vedas. That is where the traditional teaching is going to help you. So we are not holding something to say that, okay, by doing this, you will go to heaven. Not at all. You should not do that. So, yeme matamitam nityam na anutishtanti manavaha. So using with shraddha, the faith, but that faith has to be supported by what? It has to be aligned with dharma. It has to be beneficial to you, and it has to be relevant. That's very important. So shraddha means anutishtanti manava, shraddha vanto anasuyantu. Asuya is a typical word in our local vernacular. Asuya is what top in our local vernacular? Jealousy is a common translation. Here it is slightly different in Sanskrit. In this Vedantic context, Asuya means there are people. What is their job? They are not interested in understanding the idea. They are interested is to find fault. Swami Chinmayananda used to say, a proofreader's attitude. What is the attitude of a proofreader? Or what is the focus of a proofreader?
Find mistakes.
Exactly. To find mistakes. So if you look at the teaching, just to find mistakes, that teaching will never work. See, you have to strike a balance. You should not take anything blindly. At the very same time, you should not have the attitude of everything is wrong. Right? And I see this, a lot of people, especially the modern people, their attitude, a kind of a cynical attitude. Just because this was spoken 5,000 years back, they say that this is not relevant. Forget about the time. Look at the content. Put your effort to understand the content. Honestly. Then if you don't understand, then criticize. Some people look at their cynical attitude. It's so much. So I was reading the a teaser about a play. Somebody wrote a play very recently here. And the teaser says, the facts missed by Vyasa. I am calling it out. So it was a play based upon Mahabharata. And this person said, like, that truth which was missed by Vyasa. I had an open interaction with this person and I asked him, which version of Mahabharata have you read? He said, no, I didn't read the original. Then how did you write this story? You know, the answer he was given was, he said, like the Amar Chittagata published 60 editions of Mahabharata. So after reading that, this person concluded that Vyasa missed some truth. So this is how we see things. This is the cynical attitude. You can see this in journalists. They say that nothing will be fine, everything is corrupted. Yeah, corruption is there, but they're also honest people. There are caring people. I have experienced a lot. There are people who support you. There are people who cares for you. There are people who love you. If you think that the whole universe is completely wrong, I know, I accept there are bad elements. But if you think that everything is wrong and you find fault with everything, that is not a good attitude. That person will never reach anywhere. Actually, I think one of the British poet, I believe that it is Tennyson, he said, if that is your attitude, you will not reach anywhere. And I see this especially in the interfaith approach. Typically when in the so-called interfaith meetings, as I said, like it is a kind of a tolerance, not acceptance. Tolerance means, I know that you're going to hell, but I accept you or I tolerate you. That's not the attitude. Typically, I look at my scripture with a lot of reverence, and even if there is a mistake, I will just ignore it. But when I look at the other person's scriptures, I use with a different lens. Isn't it? So the other day, somebody told me, like, this Quran has all wrong verses. I was asking him, how many verses you have studied? There is no answer. And how did you conclude that it is wrong? It could be a misinterpretation by one person. I'm not judging any verses. I'm just telling that how people formulate the opinion without going through the studies. So to that same extent, if you apply the same scale to our scriptures, people can misinterpret Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. So understand that whenever somebody say that, okay, Bible is wrong, or Quran is wrong, or Gita is wrong, do not have that faith. So first, go to the scripture with faith and try to understand that. And if you don't understand, it may not be talking to me. That's all. Who am I to say that this is wrong and it is destroying humanity? As long as they're coming and not in breaking the dharma, then there is no point in for me to go and say that that is wrong. But mind you, if somebody is violating the dharma, saying that, okay, my interpretation of the scripture is to kill all the people of the other faith, yes, that needs to be objected because that violates dharma. So this faith, what we call Shraddha, here is very important because you have to have that faith in the teacher, faith in the scriptures, because you know that this stood this much time, 5,000 years. Even now, it is relevant. How many researches are happening on the Gita? So if that is the case, I need to have that faith in that. And definitely you will get the result. So the next point is Shraddhavanto anasuyanto and anasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabihi. So when you follow this teaching in this attitude, what is going to happen? You will be freed from all the bondage of karma. It's a promise given by Krishna. So in my opinion, this opinion of mine about Karma Yoga, the science of Karma Yoga, how it needs to be practiced, what should be my attitude, like proper work with proper attitude. Proper work means avoid tamasic karma, do the rajasic karma, but make sure that you do the swatik karma, and you do that with Ishwararpana buddhi, prasada buddhi, without binding desires, without a sense of without a sense of arrogance, as an offering to God. This is the path to success, and this will free you up from all the bondage. Look at the beauty of the verse. Every word is carefully chosen and brilliantly put. And this is the beauty of the Gita. And you will not see this in even the Upanishads. You will not see this beauty. This is so good. Okay, so let's go to the next verse. What would be the next verse? Contrary. If you don't follow this, it's not saying that you will be cursed or anything like that. He will say that, okay, it's like a teacher is saying, okay, if you eat healthy food, if you eat healthy food and do the exercise, your health will be improved, and you will be able to live longer. If you don't follow, I'm not cursing you anything, right? What is going to happen? A sedative lifestyle. This is what is going to happen to you. So it's just two snapshots. So it's not a joke. Last time when I went to India, I saw one guy, like, he's an alcoholic and he's such a young person. He's totally addicted in alcohol. I couldn't believe that in the modern generation, this time people can do that. And his doctor was telling me, he was not joking. The doctor said, next time when you drink, I don't have any problem to you drinking. But before that, you make some arrangements to put some pandal and everything in front of your house so that your family don't have to trouble to arrange your ceremonies. So this is exactly like that. The other picture is painted so that it is in his mind. So let's do that. Do the next verse. So now let's understand the verse 32.
Ye tve tadabhyasuyantaha nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudham stan vidhi nashtana chetasaha.
Interestingly, actually, in very decent language, Krishna paints it out, right? Typically, if it is us, we will give nice words, but Krishna said, like, he said, tu, whereas, ye means whoever he be, right? He could be a Brahmin, he could be a spirit, means he person from a high family, he's an Indian or a Hindu, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It is the universal pronoun used. Whereas tu, ye, then apyasuyante. Apyasuyante means being critical without any reason. That cynical attitude we talked. One who do not have faith. Anything you Gita, you just try to criticize, you don't try to understand. Na means do not. Anutishtanti. So a person who is critical without understanding, just blind criticism, without understanding this, and na anutishtanti means who do not follow. Even if you don't critical, if you do not follow this, me matam, this opinion of mine about karma yoga. So if you don't follow this karma yoga and being critical, you don't follow this consistently, vithi nashtan sarvajnana vimuthan. So Krishna uses a brilliant words. Such a person, he uses a nice word. He uses mudhan. Mudhan means what? Who is mudha?
Foolish.
Deluded one. That is the word Shankaracharya uses. He did his standard didn't you give him, make him use Krishna or Shankaracharya don't call anybody as fool. He's a deluded person. That's a nice way. Mudha means deluded. You can see that in the yogic literature, that word mudha. Mudha means deluded. So mudha, then vimudha, visheshena mudha. What is that? Is not normally deluded person. Specially deluded person. And then one more adjective. What is that? Sarvajnana. He is deluded with the ultimate knowledge. He's deluded about the truth of life. And what is going to happen? Nashta, vithi means understand. And what is going to happen? Nashta, he is going to lose achetasaha. He means the word used is achetas. Chetas means mindfulness. Achetas means he will just act mindlessly. He will not be able to efficiently function in this world. How? First of all, he is constantly worried. He's always anxious, right? And he will do tamasic actions. He may not do the swatik actions. When he acts, he's always worried and anxious. And as a result, what is going to happen? His performance will be impacted. When his performance are impacted, he may not get the right result. Even if you get the result, he will be mentally exhausted. Stress, pressure. So Krishna is saying that such a person who is deluded, who don't know the art of working, right? This working, you can work the same job with a high pressure. You can do the same job without pressure. Stress-free work. Efficient work. Swami Rangananda used to say, like, when you compare a high efficient car with an auto rickshaw, the auto rickshaw makes a lot of noise. But what is how much speed it gets? 40 kilometers per hour, maximum 60 kilometers per hour. But a good car, when it runs 160 miles per hour, you won't hear any noise. So noiseless, efficient function. A karma yogi, he will be extremely efficient in his activity in the world. Whereas a karmi, he is always deluded and he loses his mindfulness and he is specially deluded from all the science of work or the art of work, and that is going to be the state. So which one you want to be? You want it to be efficient? Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Do you want to be efficient? You want it to be peaceful? You want it to be stress-free? You want it to be like happy, and you want it to grow rather than going down. And you don't want to be stuck in that C, which is the normal state. You want it to get an A or B, B plus. So try Karma Yoga, and that is going to make you better. So it's a kind of little bit of publicity marketing on the Karma Yoga Krishna did, but it is really good. These two verses are really good. Not simple verses to just read and pass, but there is a lot of things to contemplate upon that. So let's see one more time. So he tells, so whereas tu, ye means whoever he be, anutishtanti, aphyasuyantaha means being critical without reason, and not follow my teaching, my opinion. Anutishtanti me matam. And vithi, know that. Tan mean them. Then what? Sarvajnana vimudhan, a specially deluded person from all the highest knowledge. And what happens? They vithi nashtan, they lose and they become achetasaha. They will be mindless, and their actions will not be efficient, and they are underutilizing their resources. They are not working efficiently, or they are not utilizing their potential well. Again, I just wanted to emphasize one more point. In all our Gita classes, whenever we talk about Jnana Yoga or whenever we talk about the advanced meditation, I said that is not the beginning stages of our practice, but this Karma Yoga, which we studied, it is the beginning. So please start following the Karma Yoga. I'm just telling from my own experience in my life, it makes a lot of difference in our life. So please, if you don't do anything and if you don't practice anything, at least practice this Karma Yoga. So we can discuss some of the practical challenges in practicing the Karma Yoga. But the point I explained earlier, if you pick 3 or 4 swatik actions and do the Karma Yoga as a beginning, that itself is a excellent start. With that, let's go to the final verse. Okay. So then he is going to give some challenge. So Anu, could you please chant?
Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritirjnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigrahah kim karishyati.
Now Krishna is saying some practical challenges. The practical challenges, even if I'm committed and start doing Karma Yoga, he's going to bring up one very important challenge. And the next verse, he's going to give a brilliant solution to address that. So he tells, Sadrishyam cheshtate sosyaha prakriter jnanavanapi. Right? So he tells, api means even. Jnanavan api means a person who is well informed. Jnanavan means the one who is educated, one who has knowledge. So not the self-realization, but the person who is exposed to this. Even a person who is exposed to this, Jnanavan api, cheshtate, cheshta means acts. He behaves. How? Sadrishyam. Sadrishyam means in line. Swasya prakrite sosya, meaning keeping his own nature. What does that mean? Everybody, even a person, after reading all these things, his acts based upon his gunas. I said, right, the taste buds. If it is genetically programmed, or if I acquired certain habits, I'll be tempted to act in that way. In the 6th chapter also Krishna said, right? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. It's very difficult. It is just the mind is so powerful because the mind will act based upon its own temperament. Some of them would have been genetically given to me. Some of them I would have acquired. So even a knowledgeable person will be forced to act in certain ways because of his nature, because of his temperament. One word Shankaracharya tells in his commentary. A lot of people who uses this verse as a cop-out strategy. Some people, like they get angry always. Immediately after getting the anger, what did they say? This is my nature. That's not what Krishna is going to say. The next verse is going to give an answer. So this guna is part of you, but the God has also given you certain other thing. So you might have heard this discussion about free will. Do we have 100% free will? No. We all know that. Even though theoretically it is there, nobody has 100% free will. We are bound by certain programming. But when you say that you don't have that free will, God has given us strategies and techniques by which you can master certain habits or certain behaviors. So yes, in the current state, you might be forced whenever at 6 o'clock you may want to drink alcohol. Right? That is your habit. Smoking, you cannot quit. You are forced to do that. Yes, we understand that. It is not easy. So Krishna said, even an educated person will be forced to act in certain way because of his nature. And then he tells in the next line, Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. Because he said bhutani means all the living beings. Yanti means follow. Prakritim yanti bhutani, right? So because all the beings follow their nature. I said because I may have certain taste bud programmed. So I might be craving for that food. That every beings are going to do that. And then he said that nigraha krim karishyati. So what is the use of you trying to control? He's posing a question. And in the next verse, he's going to give that answer. But isn't it a practical problem?
Absolutely.
I want to do yoga every day. But my own nature forced me to make sleep. I wanted to portion control. But when I see the food, I cannot control. So this verse brilliantly captures that universal human problem. So once again, let's chant that and try to understand that verse. It's brilliant. Look at this. If this is not psychology, what is psychology? And I'm telling you, I have serious problem when people say that Freud is the father of psychology. When you have these type of verses 5,000 years back. And could you chant this once again? Because this is such an important verse.
Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritirjnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati.
Even a wise person, I may have all the theoretical knowledge. Have you seen the doctors overeating? Have you seen the doctors smoking?
Yes.
Don't you think they don't know? They know, don't they know the facts?
Yes.
Forget doctors. Each one of us sitting in this room knows the importance of healthy eating and reducing the weight. How much we can do. So jnanavan api, even after gaining the knowledge, we all surrender to our nature. Because all the beings follow their own nature helplessly to a certain extent. So how can I control that? And that is why the next verse becomes one of the most important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. How do you get that skill? I'll tell you the answer very simple. If you do the Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, you will be able to gain that control. That's for sure. But Krishna gives that technique in the next verse. And that's why the next verse is one of the most important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Often quoted, often researched, even taken as a research subject, even in the, actually I know that even in Harvard Business Schools, multiple researches are done on that paper, on that verse. So such an important verse is coming next week. We will talk about that. But any questions or anything anybody wants to share?
Yeah, Rajaji, I had a thought, right? Our nature is also not constant. I mean, we are always changing. I'm not the same person I was when I was born. So that itself gives us hope that if
exactly, that's what we are going to, right? So that's why even though in the current state, I act with certain thing, there is always a possibility for changing myself.
Because I'm always changing.
You are always changing. And when you practice this Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, your nature changes. That is the exact, precisely that is the technique. But some theoretical understanding is required for that.
Rajesh ji, just a comment. So basically whatever we are discussing here is an acquired thing, right? The habit, as you mentioned. It's not like we are not born with them, right? It is like either smoking or drinking. It is like over the period of time, rather than nature, it is something we developed, like, it's not there in our genes. So probably that is something that if we can develop, then we can do that, then it can undo that kind of thing, like, but of course it needs practice. But is that what?
Not just even something that is developed in your gene, like there is these genome studies are there, right? So what is in your gene is not always manifested. So with your effort, you can boost certain thing and you can suppress certain things. So but it doesn't matter whether you're born with that or you acquired with that. Practice can definitely take you to the next steps, 100%. That's why this Abhyasa and Vairagya, we studied that in the 6th chapter. We are going to see in this particular class. When we study the 6th chapter, we will see Krishna gives Abhyasa, constant practice. I would suggest a book called Peak. I mentioned about this last week.
Yes.
Peak. So this book, the entire book is dedicated how practice, dedicated, intense practice can help you to gain some skills. So there are so many case studies are mentioned and you will be amazed. These are all proven facts, right? These are all scientifically proven. So if anybody interested, you can read that. And one thing, if you read a book in between, just let's dedicate some 15 minutes. Whoever wants to talk about that book, you're always welcome to do that. If you read an interesting book, I would really encourage, we can dedicate 30 minutes of one of our session to talk about that book. So you can share the gist of that book to the other people. This is not my idea. Somebody suggested that, and I felt that that's really good. And please, this reading is also a good habit. If you can spend some 10 minutes reading every day, that itself is a kind of meditation. Different types of books.
Rajaji, I had a question to Radhikaji's question. When we talk about gunas in the Bhagavad Gita, are we specifically addressing those qualities that we are born with, or
Both.
can it also be okay?
Guna covers both. Guna means temperaments, and how a temperament can be created is you are born with certain temperament,
right,
and you acquire certain temperament.
Okay.
What is the collective temperament at a given point of time, that is your guna at that point of time. And the point is that you can transform that.
So gunas are also always changing,
It
right?
is changing. It can be changed. Yes.
And it is changing even without effort, because it's like, it's not static.
It is the effort, when it is random. Exactly what you are exposed to could change your gunas.
Exactly.
So you see this whole guna karma analysis in the chapter 4. That is going to take away a lot of our misunderstanding about this so-called varna, right? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra.
Yes.
Nobody is a Brahman by birth. Per
Right.
Krishna's definition, it is guna and karma, right? So let me just give you that verse in a second. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam, the most criticized verse of Bhagavad Gita. But people forget about the next line or conveniently ignore the next line. He said guna karma vibhagasha. It's just a dicing and slicing based upon guna karma. And then the next verse is going to talk about you can transition from one to the other easily with self-effort. So the commentators quote Vishwamitra. So by birth, he was born as a king. But where did he end up?
Sage.
Rishi.
Yeah.
Rishi.
So even though he was a Janma Kshatriya, he was a Guna Brahmana. Right? And then Vedavyasa, he was a Janma Shudra. He was the son of a, you know the story, right?
Fisherman.
Fisherwoman.
Fisherwoman.
And Vatmiki was a
Shudra. A hunter.
tribal,
Tribal.
right?
Yeah.
So who was a Janma Shudra, if I can use that term. That's for understanding only, I'm using it. But who was he? He was a Karma Brahmana. Sorry, Guna Brahmana. So the gunas determines the quality. And a tribal can be transformed into a spiritual master. And if you really look at all these great masters, their Janma is backward. And now, just for your kind information, if you really look at Krishna himself, by birth, he was a Yadava, right?
Kshatriya.
Yadava. That was his so-called caste. I don't want to use that term, but in the modern day, and do you know that where this Yadava belongs to? In the modern scheduled caste, scheduled tribe categorization, it's an OBC. You know that, right? So Krishna himself is a like a Janma by birth. If you take it, is a Shudra. So, but he was a most admired master.
Yeah.
So Srinarayana Guru, right? In the modern times, like that, it is guna is what matters, and this guna, Ajamala story in the Bhagavata, he actually he goes down like a Chandala, and from there he transforms into a Brahmana. So like that, it is guna. So nothing is constant. In one family, you can have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And means we need to spend some time on that when we go to the 4th chapter, because this is the most misinterpreted concept in our tradition, which is used to manipulate people and act against humanity. Swami Vivekananda, when he visited South, when he came to Kerala, I think some of you may know, like the note he has written is, this is a lunatic asylum. That's the word he has used. After seeing the practices. Say a person, you cannot see another person as a human being. It's shame on them. That's it. It's such a bad thing. So it's a sheer misinterpretation of the teachings for vested interest and convenience. So let's correct ourselves. And I see some people, even after coming to America in 21st century, carries that pride. It's very bad. without studying the scripture. They just quote. Like I told you, right? After reading Amar Chitragada, commenting, it's like after reading Amar Chitragada, commenting about Vyasa, we laugh. Like that, when such people take pride in their caste. We studied one verse in Atmabodha last week, right? A master, he won't have that feeling. So guna is very important, and all such things can be avoided with practice. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rajesh, earlier you said there were two words, abhyasa, which is a constant practice, and what was the other one?
Vairagya. Vairagya is detachment from these unwanted thing. So negative things you are getting detached, and abhyasa means you practice the desired thing. Abhyasa vairagya bhyam tan nirodha, Yoga Sutra. Same thing in the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
So when we study the 6th chapter, we will study that, and even in Yoga Sutra we will see this. Excellent. Anything else? Okay, then have a great week.
So,
And,
so Rajesh, this is altogether the.
yeah.
Sorry, Rajesh, I was saying that this is both the promise and the challenge of the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Right. It's a challenge. You have to accept the fact. If you say that, yeah, this controlling is very easy, tomorrow when you face the real world, it's not very easy.
No, it's not.
You have to acknowledge the fact. And this is not a cry of despair, but it is a statement of the fact with a promise how to rectify it.
I think it's
Yeah.
a very optimistic promise.
I think I was attending that course of NYU, the physiology of yoga.
Yeah.
So what they were saying is that epigenetics is a complete science section where they talk about the expression of genes. So genes itself, DNA, it cannot be changed, but the way that it expresses, it changes when you are making smaller changes in the habits, whether you're doing yoga, meditation, it is making that expression itself is changing. I think that is what we are talking here. Like
that's exactly what I was
adaptation.
using, the expression of the genomes. Exactly the same thing. There is a lot of research in Harvard. Actually, Dr. Sarah Lasser had done a lot of researches, and it is proven. So we are talking exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So there is hope, like it changes
Yeah.
in a positive direction.
It is, but you need to have that effort and you need to have that faith.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
And
So,
these
Jinaji,
small practices, it can make a lot of difference. And that is why the constant practices, like Sundays, every Sunday, if possible, attend that meditation session, because that is wonderful thing. Every day attend the yoga session, meditation session, and one of these Gita. Because now, because of COVID, we all have this opportunity to do that. So we just need to force ourselves certain things, which is attending these programs, and that is going to be really, really beneficial without us knowing. Without much investment, we can gain a lot.
It's not a lot of time we are talking, maybe like you said 5 to 10 minutes,
Yes.
but it's just the frequency, like every day, that's what it matters, not a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes of meditation is going to make a lot of difference. Even studying the scriptures, 15 minutes is good enough. So 3 verses only we are talking every week.
I think Rajesh and Jinaji, what's most fascinating is to understand that when you do these practices, you're not just changing your temperament or your habits, but your DNA expression itself.
Yeah.
At the very like grassroots level, your
Exactly.
your encoding.
Exactly.
That's huge.
And it's interesting that if you understand how the cells are formed, this DNA is inside a cell, right? And how we they're saying that we are not getting older because most of the cell, it's actually dividing and it's new. So for example, in 1 year, 92% of our body is new.
Right.
So remember, so if you have a changed expression and that DNA is going to divide into 2 new cells, then you are actually making it better. And then even that, if you're forming another habit, again, division, it's going to get better. So it's actually multiplication effect. So each time it gets better and better and better. So
you put a little bit of effort, it will be always boosted. And
exactly.
Opposite is the other way, right? When you try to do
That
negative thing, that also will be boosted.
It's replicated, the negative effect also. So it's important that we keep that habit, that it exponentially increase our
and
the gene expression.
The study tells, right, if you practice properly, it is going to enhance your immune system also. Mind you, actually, we all are in a state where we need to pay attention to your physical health. You know, Gita, how much it is emphasizing, because so far we were in our prime time, so our body was able to take care of automatically a lot of mistakes we have been doing. But we all are in that life stage where we are passing that stage. So now onwards, we need to give proper maintenance and support. It's like a car. First few years, even if you don't care, it will run smoothly. But now that stage has reached. So
that's a very important thing, Rajaji. You know, we need to realize it yesterday.
But today you realized. I would think that way only.
Today is the best day.
Today is the best day. When you want to start today, that's it. At least past is history, right? And the present is what is given to us, and we do have a possibility. And the beauty of the spiritual practice is when I put one effort, as Gina said, like, you will see two support systems coming to me from God. So this is a good old technique, and this is a constant. It's a real fact of our life. So you can experiment that by yourselves.
So no matter how down you are, no matter how often you have failed, there's always hope, and hope is
there is no failure in this path,
right?
So it's always successful, and it is always positive. That positive mindset, and it's such a, see, the thing is, the grace is there. I always believe that the grace is there for all of us. Otherwise, we would not have been sitting here and discussing this. So that Adhyatma Chetas is already there for each one of us. Everybody sitting in this room, virtual room, has that Adhyatma Chetas. Otherwise, we won't be sitting here and talking about this while we have hundreds of possibilities, right, at this time.
Yes.
So that's good. Sorry for the extra time. So, Anu, could you please chant these 3 verses, and also then we can do the Purnamada. But please post any questions you have on this topic. We will continue.
Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyathyaatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvaraha ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyantaha muchyante tepi karmabhihi ye tve tadabhyasuyantah nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudham stan viddhi nashtana chetasah sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritir jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati.
Thank you. And let's do the Purnamada.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah.